Could it be? Could it be? Could it be Clinton? Clinton? Maybe they're foolish and maybe they're blind, thinking they can just rule us and control our minds. Got no good candidates, so who can they find? Could it be Clinton after all? Could they tap Clinton after all? How dumb can Democrats be? How dumb can Democrats be? Do you remember the last time and what Donald done? In spite of her cheating, beat her like a drum. And man, she looked dumb. But could it be Clinton once again? Could they tap Clinton once again? How dumb can Democrats be? How dumb can Democrats be? Some lefties got a spending problem. Some just dumb as fuck. All lefties think they can rob us. Lord heavens above. Could it be Clinton after all? Could they tap Clinton after all? How dumb can Democrats be? How dumb can Democrats be? 'Cause it may seem foolish, it looks so damn blind. To go back to Clinton, they're out of their minds. But what a good time, 'cause it could be Clinton after all. It could be Clinton after all. How dumb can Democrats be? How dumb can Democrats be? Oh, some lefties got a spending problem. Some just dumb as fuck. All lefties think they can rob us. Lord heavens above. Could it be Clinton after all? Could it be Clinton after all? How dumb can Democrats be? How dumb can Democrats be? Could it be Clinton telling lies? Probably Clinton taking bribes. That's just how Democrats be. That's just how Democrats be. Well, she's no pussy like Obama. She's just the evilest old mama. Could it be Clinton once again? Hit by the Trump train once again. How dumb can Democrats be? How dumb can Democrats be? It could be Clinton against our man. Rematch with Clinton, that's their whole plan. Bring it, you lying ass bitch. Bring it, you lying ass bitch. Okay, on with it. Welcome to the Sunder the Sky podcast. I am your host, Christopher Sky-Sunderer, here in my underground bunker deep beneath the streets of Kent, Ohio, and this is episode 3, although it is coming at you early this week. I am still going to do an episode this Thursday, the 17th. That'll actually be episode 4. Why am I jumping the gun on episode 3? Okay, well, before we get started, I better explain this. I have a lot of work done for episode 3. I've been cranking out some topics and talking points, and the thing is, unless I want Thursday's episode to be about 3 hours long, I got to clear some of this out because something big is coming this week, and I want to clear the palette, so to speak, of all this stuff that and it's really 2 reasons. The news cycle, as I've said before, is constantly accelerating. I mean, something happens on Monday, and by Wednesday, it seems like ancient history. This might not be the only time I release an episode early like this. In fact, I can guarantee it won't be, especially with an election year coming up. But James O'Keefe of Project Veritas has announced, at long last, that the whistleblower they're about to break this week is someone who has been compiling information, even making secret recordings, and reporting to them for months from within CNN. CNN is probably, outside of the Clintons, I would say CNN has been my target of most of my criticism for the last few years as a blogger, as I don't know, an online presence. I don't really know what I am. I'm somebody with social media accounts that draw a lot of shares and follows. So I don't know. And a lot of my work, you guys may have seen but not known it. I do a lot of ghostwriting for other people. I don't want to be credited for the work because it's dangerous. But I have ghostwritten a lot of articles for copblock.org. I've ghostwritten articles for a lot of activist groups pushing the message of liberty and standing up to illegitimate and overbearing authority, and I've done a lot of work that I won't take credit for and you'll never know about. So anyway, what was I talking about? Man, what a stupid tangent to go off on. Oh, right. So this week, they're going to break a CNN whistleblower, and apparently this is going to be a bombshell. CNN uses the term bombshell anytime any new information comes out. That's not a term I use lightly. A lot of the big, virulent vermin occupying the media space, let's call it, Helter Skelter, Don Lemonhead, Fredo Cuomo, are probably going down. And more than that, Jeff Zucker himself is probably in trouble. So I wanted to make sure this Thursday I would have plenty of room on the show for whatever it is that Project Veritas has coming. Okay, I've supported Project Veritas from the beginning, before it was Project Veritas, going all the way back to James O'Keefe's initial big bust of Acorn, when he disguised himself as a pimp and he had a young actress dress up as a prostitute and accompany him into an Acorn center where they inquired as she was looking at getting a loan to buy a home, and they were explicit. This wasn't going to be a place they actually live. They wanted to be able to borrow using her income as proof of credit, and even though her income was from prostitution, and the house they were looking to buy was not going to be a place to live. It was going to be a brothel, and moreover, it was going to be a brothel for pedophiles. They were going to have child prostitutes, and they secretly filmed and recorded the Acorn representatives helping them, telling them exactly what to say to get this stuff approved, telling them what not to say, and even instructing them to lie on official forms. So all the way back to that initial bust, I've been a James O'Keefe fan. Back to the old days, when Andrew Breitbart was still with us. Let's say his death was untimely. Anyway, this whistleblower looks to be maybe particularly incendiary, and so I want to have the Thursday episode talking points and the whole slate open. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of this other stuff now and release this episode early. Okay, so just to jump right into this, recent Hill Dog rumblings about the presidency. We talked about this last time. Obviously, Hillary Clinton is furious that we didn't give her the presidency that it was her rightful turn to receive in 2016. And I talked about, they announced this with the release of her new book that she wrote with, it's still funny to me, that she wrote with Chelsea's help. Whoo, boy. Okay, I want to tag back here to an article that came out in summer of last year on the New York Post. Okay, and this is just pursuant to my point here that this isn't anything new. I mean, obviously, she's been trying to overturn the results of the last election since it happened. And let your imagination run wild with what she was doing right after the election. Remember, the night of the election, once it was called for Trump, she disappeared. I mean, her supporters stood in that big auditorium, wherever that was, waiting for her to come out and make a statement. For how long was she missing? I think it was damn near 24 hours that she kept these people waiting. When she finally did show up, she had no makeup on. Her hair was in disarray. She looked like a nightmare. I mean, she looked probably like what Bill has to wake up to every morning. Well, let's be honest, what Huma Abedin has to wake up to every morning. And, I mean, she was probably either screaming at people or scheming for how to overturn this? Probably both. Anyway, it's not been a secret. This isn't anything new. And this article in the Post, the New York Post, by Michael Goodwin, came out last July. Not this past July, but July of 2018. And I'm only going to read a little bit of it. I don't want to spend too much time on this. The article, the headline, is Hillary Clinton secretly planning to run in 2020? Well, again, just like I said with Dinesh D'Souza's documentary, Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party, the only thing wrong with that title is the word secret. Is Hillary Clinton secretly planning to run in 2020? No, Michael, she's not. She's openly planning to run in 2020. I mean, even if she thinks she's being secretive, she's not. So, the article, quote, "The messages convey a sense of urgency and are coming with increasing frequency. They are short, focused reactions to the latest quote-unquote outrage committed by President Trump. Some end by asking for money, some urge participation in protests. All read as if they are sent from the official headquarters of the resistance." Michael, don't forget the open calls to violence, okay? Hillary Clinton is up to something. Okay, again, Michael, when is she not? Back to the article, 5 times in the last month alone, remember this was July of 2018, she sent emails touting her super PAC's role in combating President Trump. Most seized on headline events such as the family separation issue at the southern border. Blah, 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 blah. Under the message line, quote, "horrific," she wrote June 18, "This is a moral and humanitarian crisis. Every one of us who has ever held a child in their arms, and every human being with a sense of compassion and decency," what does that have to do with you, Hillary? "Should be outraged," she said. She warned about Trump's immigration policies during the 2016 campaign. This was also, just an aside here, while she was happily announcing her plans to nuke Russia, among other insanity. 3 days later, she was back again, saying that her group, Onward Together, raised $1 million and would split it among organizations working to change border policy, including the American Civil Liberties Union and a gaggle of immigrant, refugee, Latino, and women's groups. And the day after Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy announced his retirement, Clinton introduced a newly minted resistance partner called Demand Justice. It promises to protect, quote, "reproductive rights, voting rights, and access to health care," end quote, by keeping Senate Democrats united in opposing any conservative Trump nominee. Its homepage says the group, quote, "is dedicated to advancing the vision that earned nearly 66 million votes in the last election." Earned? Because you know at least 16 of those millions of votes weren't real. With the Democratic Party locked in a battle between its far left wing and its far, far left wing, no single leader has emerged to unite it. Clinton is trying to play that role by being a mother hen to the fledgling activists drawn to politics by their hatred of Trump. If they were active in 2016, they most probably supported Bernie Sanders in his primary challenge to Clinton. But by helping to fund them now, she is putting them in her debt for later. Remember how these people we're talking about here were screaming after she openly just stole the nomination. She blocked Bernie. Everybody knows how that went out with the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We're not going to rehash all that now. Back to the article. But will she need their support later? Is she really going to make a third run for the White House? Not long ago, I told a group of friends, all liberal Dems, that I believed she was keeping open the possibility of a rematch against Trump and might already have decided to run. It was unanimous. They were horrified. Quote, "I would not give her a single cent," one man, formerly a big donor to Clinton, said emphatically. "Their reasons are no surprise. Her moment has passed. She was a terrible candidate, and her endless claims of victimhood are tiring rather than inspiring. It's time to find new blood. Those assessments are unassailable and certainly are shared by the 20 or so Dems lining up to take their shot at the nomination." 20. That's how many it was back in July of last year. Little did we know. Moreover, there isn't any clamoring for another Clinton run in Hollywood or other leftist hotbeds. They want a new blockbuster, not a sequel to failure. So she's toast, right? Maybe. On the other hand, the odds are zero that she is playing community organizer just to be a kingmaker. Exactly, Michael, that's it. that you've hit on it exactly. The Clintons don't do anything that is not self-serving. They're not interested in helping anybody else. They're not interested in advancing an agenda unless they're sitting at the lead of it. Back to the article, when it comes to money and power, the Clintons assume charity begins at home. Precisely. Here's how I believe she sees playing the field and why she can't be ignored. First, because there's no clear frontrunner for the nomination 18 months, written in July of last year, into Trump's presidency. Clinton remains the closest thing to an incumbent. She's also got numerous advantages, from name recognition to campaign experience to an off-the-shelf cabinet that could give her a head start. Second, a crowded, diverse field diminishes the chances of anyone knocking her off. Recall how Trump outlasted 16 GOP rivals by having a committed core of supporters that grew as the field of contenders shrank. Clinton could be in a similar position, unpopular among many, but also unbeatable by a single opponent. Third, looking ahead to the 2020 primaries, she sees no reason to fear the favorite daughters and sons in key blue states. She would almost certainly beat Senator Kamala Harris in California, Senator Cory Booker in New Jersey, and Governor Andrew Cuomo in New York. And please, forget Sanders and Joe Biden. Sanders is already 76, and Biden at 75 has never been a viable candidate for president and still isn't. Fourth, money is not an issue. Some donors will resist Clinton at first, but any Dem nominee can count on all the money in the world to run against Trump. To be clear, there are scenarios where Clinton doesn't run. Health reasons, for example, or a younger rival could rocket to the top of the pack and become the party's next Barack Obama. For now, I am convinced Clinton wants to go for it. Doubters should recall the line about polls who get the presidential itch. There are only two cures: election or death. Besides, the third time could be the charm. That, again, is coming from Michael Goodwin of the New York Post, published July 7, 2018. Okay, so fast forward to now, and you can see all of those things. I mean, he was remarkably prescient. I mean, fast forward to now. You know, I'll again retap the article about her book release, you know, when it said, well, could it be Biden Clinton 2020, Warren Clinton 2020, etc.? The one thing I'm reasonably sure won't happen, no one's going to pick her for VP. I mean, it could, someone might do that. I wouldn't put anything past Democrats in terms of either corruption or stupidity, but you'd have to have a pretty irresistible death wish to pick a Clinton as your running mate, particularly that Clinton, the Wicked Witch of the left. Because if you win the election, your odds of being assassinated to facilitate your VP becoming president jump to a point where they're mathematically indistinguishable from 100% if Hillary is your VP. But who knows what the hell's going to happen with the Democratic nomination. They've got no one who can beat Trump, for starters. And let's look at who they've got that could even be backable. Like, who do they have that they could even get their base to turn out and vote for? Biden, in addition to being 900 years old, is fighting lots and lots of allegations right now. The Biden family has basically been outed as a crime syndicate. His daughter, this almost never pings the headlines anymore, but his daughter got busted for fraud to the tune of over $100,000. This just happened a few months ago. His son was getting $50,000 a month from a Ukrainian energy company, Burisma Holdings, as part of a pay-for-play deal so obvious a blind person could tell you its color. And then you've got Biden himself straight up extorting the former Ukrainian president to kill an investigation into that very company, and then openly bragging about doing so in front of the entire world. Biden's always been a gaffe machine. I mean, going back to the 90s before anybody knew who he was. But this is by far his biggest. This gaffe, first of all, it went on for several minutes, and it's probably going to torpedo what's left of his career. It was a bigger gaffe than put y'all back in chains, bigger than Barack Obama is the first clean Negro, better than this is a big fucking deal on a hot mic. I really think he's done. And if he's not done, if he gets the nomination, only the straight ticket Democrat voters and the super far left lefties are going to vote for him. A substantial chunk of the Democratic Party are just going to stay home on election day next year if Biden's running against Trump, if for no other reason than they know he's just going to lose anyway, so why bother getting off the couch? Warren, for God's sake, there's a petition now among the Democratic Party, a movement called Anybody But Warren. Look this up. It's literally called Anybody But Warren because apparently Of all 326,000 Democratic candidates, they've all been in every debate, on social media, in speeches, in rallies. All of the Democratic candidates have been engaged for the last year in trying to do nothing other than move to the left of each other. You had all these people, every one of those debates, you had 16, 20 people, all trying to move to each other's left. And it seems Warren has been the clear winner in the leftardathon. She's now pushing for taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgery for prison inmates. That's like a Mandelbrot fractal of leftism that just spirals in on itself to infinity. I remember a t-shirt I had when I was in college. It was sold as the, what was it called? Oh, the product name was the Offend Everybody shirt. That was the product name of this thing, wherever it was sold. It was the Offend Everybody shirt. And it was just a simple t-shirt, I think it was gray, and it had "Nuke Gay Whales for Jesus" printed across the chest. Okay. That deliberately ridiculous phrase, meant as a joke, is exactly as, or even less, extreme than any given line item on Elizabeth Warren's declared presidential policy agenda. The, quote, "anybody but Warren" movement is founded on the notion that she is just too far left. And if she gets the nomination, process that, too far left for the Democrats at this point in history. And if she does get it, if she gets the nomination, what they're worried about is she's too far left, and all that's going to do is ensure a Trump victory in 2020. So we're back to the same problem you've got if Joe Biden gets the nomination. Because in Warren's case especially, only the craziest nuke China and eat your babies leftists would vote for that headdress-wearing nightmare mannequin. I mean, the Johnny Cab robot from Total Recall was less of a dive into the uncanny valley than Elizabeth Warren. Anytime she speaks, my brain can't decide if it's terrified or just infuriated. And then there's Sanders. Now, okay, everybody assumes Sanders is done because he had a heart attack. I'm not convinced. First, the fact that he lied about having had a heart attack. Remember, what his campaign said originally was he wasn't feeling well and he went to the hospital. Turns out he's got a blocked artery and they need to operate. That's all they said. All right, that's not what happened. He had a straight-up heart attack. And that tells me that he's not done. Second, like I mentioned in the last episode, and God, is this depressing, we're not anywhere near done with this nomination race on the left. We've got roughly half a year left. 5-6 months before the Democrats nominate someone. Now, that's plenty of time for Sanders to rehab, get his diet straight, and mount a courageous comeback for the good of the country. Now, whether or not that ends up materializing, mark my word, it's in his head as I speak. He is planning to do that, I promise. The initial and immediate spin doctoring of his heart attack proves that to me. Okay, because, I mean, think about what that means happened that day, or that night. Even when he was clutching his chest and shouting, "Call an ambulance!" he immediately followed it with, "Just tell people I'm not feeling well. We're not done." I mean, what's going to be really interesting is to see what Hillary does, or more accurately, what Hillary is going to have done to others in order to move her closer to that nomination in the coming months, because she absolutely does want it. Don't allow there to be any confusion in your mind about that. Something I want to just mention as an aside here. I talked a lot last time about being prepared in case something happens and you need to go without food, water, and medicine for a while. Because I see a lot of talk about this. When it seems to me, anytime I see someone bring this up on social media, anytime somebody mentions it in a podcast or in an article, you get comment, all harping on the same issue. You're being paranoid. No, you're not. Being prepared is not being paranoid. There's nothing wrong with being prepared for an emergency. Do you wear a seatbelt? Why? Aren't you just being paranoid? because your odds of getting into an accident are pretty low. Okay, and another thing that I want to point out to people, and this may get this video taken down, I don't know, but I'm going to say it because it needs to be said. People, we kind of already are in a civil war. Like I said last time, the Democratic Party has done nothing legislatively, nothing to govern. All they've done for 3 years is try to depose a fairly and legitimately elected president. We know beyond the shadow of any doubt that they have fabricated hoaxes and told lie after lie after lie pursuant to just getting Trump out. We have a mainstream establishment media, multiple media corporations that have all been their steadfast ally in all of this. This is beyond complicity. These media companies aren't just complicit here. They are active participants. These aren't just media pseudo-events and politicians talking politics. This is and has been an attempted coup, and it is ongoing as we speak. In fact, it's now been multiple attempted coups. They are committing this right now. This is happening as we speak. There is a coup attempt in process as I sit here, as I am recording this. So if it sounds like hysterics to say that there might be war soon, keep in mind, guys, it's already a war. It just hasn't been declared yet. There's even been violence. Not open battles in the streets, but some incidents have come close. What do you think Antifa is? What do you think it means that while all of this stuff is going on in Washington, you've got Maxine Waters encouraging her supporters to form mobs and chase Trump supporters out of restaurants, out of bars, out of any public place. Literally. That's not conjecture on my part. That's not exaggeration. That's not me framing it a certain way. Listen to her words. If you see those Trump supporters, you form a crowd and you push back on them. What the hell do you think that means? They can't win the argument, so now they want to start throwing punches. And they're not going to win throwing punches. These little soy weasels and feminist sea cows who come out into the street, they're not going to win any fist fights, believe me. And you don't need to have the Proud Boys present. I mean, anybody who engages in physical activity most days is going to take these people. Okay, so what do they do then? Well, now they're throwing milkshakes, and we're going to get to that in a minute too. But it's chemical attacks. It's not just a milkshake. They're putting quick dry cement in that stuff that burns you. Okay, and they're hitting people. The one guy who clubbed somebody in the head with a bike lock. That's a flail on the end of a chain. He opened that guy's skull up, for God's sake. It's not that big a leap to say at some point we're going to lose some utility nationwide. And that's all it takes for you to need your stockpile. Okay, so just do it. Okay, it's really easy to do. All right, so I promised I would talk about this time. We were talking about how to prepare for a crisis. You want to have some canned food, you want to have bottled water, and you want to have something to defend yourself with. You want to foster a sense of community. You want to get to know your neighbors. You want to learn some useful skills, most especially first aid, CPR, how to build a fire, what any Boy Scout learns in the first few months. But there's one issue here that I had to admit, even talking about it revealed to me I'm completely lost on it. How do you stockpile medicine? You want antibiotics, okay, and you want to keep in mind some pain relievers are also fever reducers, so they can serve double duty in that way. But what about prescription medication? What do you do if you're on something that you need a prescription to get, and you genuinely need it? Like, what if you're a heart patient and you're taking, I don't know, lisinopril or amlodipine or carvedilol? These are life-saving medications. You really need to be taking them if they've been prescribed to you. What do you do? And I looked into this. I talked to my doctor, and I've actually talked to a few doomsday preppers. And man, those people are not nuts. What they're preparing for is stuff that has absolutely happened before. I've compiled some notes for everybody. Vitamins. This is something I didn't even think of. You want to have vitamins. You want to have a good multivitamin and maybe some vitamin D, particularly if it's in the winter, because you want to think about how many essential nutrients and minerals How many vitamins is your store of canned food providing you? It's a really good question, because if your stockpile is a bunch of beans, like kidney beans and green beans, and you got all that stuff. That, first of all, anything canned is not ideal. It's kind of the bottom of the barrel. When it comes to anything plant that you're going to eat, any kind of vegetable, any plant matter, the most nutrient rich is going to be the stuff that is fresh. Next step down is stuff that's frozen. The freezing process destroys a lot of the nutrients. And then the absolute bottom of the barrel, the least nutrient rich, is stuff that's canned. And when you drain that can, when you pour out the water, you're pouring out most of the nutrients too. Because the longer those things have been soaking in that water, the more nutrients have been, through osmosis, slurped and sucked out into the water. So that's maybe a thought there. Drink the juice. Don't just drain the can. Drink it. But because of that, you want to make sure you're getting all your vitamins and minerals. So you want to stockpile some multivitamins. You're going to want cold medicine. When it comes to pain relief, this is... Everybody I talked to said this was particularly high up on the lists that you should stock up on. You want to include a variety of different pain medications. Don't just stock up on one. You want aspirin, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, even opiate-based pain medication if you have legal access to it. And not only is pain medication important for its pain relief, it also has immense inherent value. You want to think of everything you're stockpiling as potential currency, because somebody else might have something you forgot to stock up on, and you might have something they forgot to stock up on, right? Pain medicine is going to be high up on the list of stuff that you can trade. And, again, keep in mind things like ibuprofen and Tylenol, acetaminophen, are also used to reduce fevers, okay? And both of those are harmful if they're used in large doses, or if you use them continuously over an extended period of time. They can cause a lot of damage to your stomach. And there are things on the natural end of things that you can use, like extract of, I think I'm pronouncing this right, curcumin, which is one of the active components in turmeric, and it's used often to relieve arthritic pain. And some studies have shown it's almost like an NSAID, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. But then you also want to think about topical pain relief, mild anesthetics. Okay, and for this you can store oil extracts of clove, wintergreen, a lot of different hot peppers actually work. Oil extracts of hot peppers can work as a topical anesthetic. Cayenne is a good one. Clove oil is supposed to be really good for toothaches. And then topical aches or even tight muscles, you can use hot peppers to make oils and lotions that you can apply. It's kind of like having Icy Hot or Bengay or my favorite, Tiger Balm. This is all over-the-counter stuff. You want to try to get some over-the-counter antihistamines, and you always want to make sure when you're buying that stuff, because some antihistamines will have pain medicine included. Okay, and you want to be aware of that stuff. Cold medicine, Dayquil, NyQuil, that kind of stuff. Antibiotics, of course. This one guy in one of the articles I read, he said you could bet good money that a lot of people will die of secondary infections, and basically for a lack of antibiotics. Fortunately, antibiotics can also be stockpiled legally without a prescription, and generally it's rather affordable to do so. So you want to check at your local farm supply store or vet. Ask for antibiotics such as fish mox, that's fish MOX, or fish pen. They are amoxicillin and penicillin, respectively. And watch out, like me personally, I'm allergic to penicillin. I break out in hives. But antibiotics should be used sparingly for no other reason than you need to preserve them. The number one threat to human life that is exterior to ourselves is actually microscopic. And you're under direct assault by microbes and toxins all the time. So you want to stock up on antibiotics, and you want to not use them unless you have to. Okay, but there are times when a course of antibiotics can mean the difference between life and death. For prescriptions, the meat of this, I got a simple list of do's and don'ts here that I got from somebody online who's a prepper. Do keep the drugs in their original container with your name on the prescription label. Do store the medications in a cool, dark, dry place. Rotate your supply. Use the oldest meds first and save the newest meds for later use. Keep your supply organized and understandable, and know what each medication is used for, how to take it, and why you want to have access to it. Be responsible, be a forward-thinking patient who is prepared with an adequate supply of essential maintenance medications. Essentially, everybody misses a dose here and there. Don't throw your excess pills out. That's the number one way to stockpile this stuff. And tell your doctor. Be completely honest with your doctor and pharmacist about why you want a backup supply of medications on hand. Now, some doctors are going to say no. Don't lie. All right, your best bet here is to be honest. Now, here are some don'ts. Don't keep any medications that were not prescribed to you. Don't keep any drugs that you don't know what they're for. Don't try to create a stockpile of controlled substances, okay? Because just because the shit hits the fan doesn't mean law enforcement isn't going to be out there. And I promise you, if you're in a situation where martial law has been declared, any whiff of criminal activity you're going to have your door kicked in, you're going to have a lot of stuff confiscated. And this is important. Not to create a stockpile of controlled substances, because not only does it look suspicious and criminal, it also makes you a target for home invasion and robbery. There are going to be drug addicts out there. Drug addicts are not necessarily forward thinkers, and if they find out, hey, that guy's got a stockpile of heroin, guess where they're going to go. It's not worth it. Don't fake an illness to get a prescription to have on hand just in case. If you want a prescription for a just-in-case type medication like an antibiotic, you need to be forthcoming with your doctor and tell them the whole truth. Don't take only part of an antibiotic prescription and save the rest for later use. This increases the colonies of drug-resistant bacteria in your body and decreases your chances for appropriate healing. Don't assume you have to throw away all drugs on the day they, quote, expire. Most drugs do not go bad the day they expire. Don't try to create a stockpile of drugs in hopes that you can make money selling them during the zombie apocalypse. You're going to overshoot and you're going to get robbed. Now the big question. How much extra medication should you have on hand? Well, that's up to you. Okay, you should always have at least a week supply. That'll save you from the everyday emergencies that come up all the time. If you're smart enough to plan ahead for a possible disaster scenario, think through the most likely disaster in your area, how long you think you might be without access to your pharmacy, and how important is it to take your medication every day. Shooting for a 3-month supply is a reasonable goal, but you need to be methodical and organized. And I'm going to have a link to this article in the description. As a final note, keep your emergency supply of medications somewhere safe and memorable. You might want to have some in your bug-out bag, or you might decide to keep the extras with all your usual medications. Decide what works best for you, but remember to stay organized. Keep prescriptions in their original container with the label, and rotate your supply using the older drugs first. An organized and well-maintained medication stockpile can provide peace, security, and might even save your life. All right, and for my final story today, take a look at this.
Are you familiar with the term manspreading?
Manspreading? Never heard of it before in my life.
I think that's probably because we made it up.
Manspreading?
Manspreading. Okay, so it's this phenomenon we've noticed when men tend to sit with their legs much wider than women do, and a lot of the time it takes up like a whole lot of space. And you're not taking up a ton of space, but you're taking up a little bit of space. Have you noticed?
No, I didn't.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. It's not. I hope it's not sexual.
Manspreading. I'm guessing that's the leg as I'm doing like this.
That was a perfect definition.
Yes.
What, have you heard the term manspreading?
No, but is that why you asked me? Was I doing it?
It can be construed as a man spread.
Well, it's not too crowded. If it was like super crowded, I would probably constrict.
Okay, so that's there you have it. All right, attention, idiots who don't understand how testicles work. Much like with milkshaking conservatives, these innocent people that you're targeting have no idea what's in that bottle. Okay, and just like I've told people, if you see some red-eyed liberal maniac running up attempting to throw something on you, draw down on them and you tell them to stop. And if they keep coming, you pull that trigger. You leftists, if you do this, you understand that you are putting someone in a position where they don't know what you're... Look at that. There was a video, some lady in a Taco Bell. Just looked like she was walking, she was leaving. She was headed for the door, pulls out a knife, and as she's walking by, slices this guy's face open for absolutely no reason. And she doesn't even break stride. She just continues right on out the door. There's that other video of some lady who comes up and starts stabbing these two little kids in the face. How do we know that's not you when you come running up at us with some bottle of some unknown liquid? Okay, if you do this, your victim is perfectly within his moral rights to draw down on you. And if you keep coming, to shoot you. You SJWs, you had better grow up. And I mean like yesterday. Because I know where you're going. The moment one of you idiots gets his or her head hollowed out, you're going to start screaming about guns again. The problem wasn't that the guy had a gun. The solution was that the guy had a gun. You are the problem, or were the problem. You stepped up. You put someone in a position to have to fear for their well-being or even their life, and you lost. I don't want to see that happen to anyone. I don't want you to get shot. I want you to sit down and have a conversation with people you disagree with. And I'm here. Hey, I spent all of 2018 challenging Omar and Rafael Rivero, those two cackling fucking morons who run Occupy Democrats. I spent all of 2018 challenging those two to a debate. I said it would be at my expense, on whatever topic they want, hosted on whatever platform they want, 2-on-1, both of them against me, and I told them they could even assign me a position to defend. It wouldn't even have to be something I believe in, because I just wanted to prove that they were incapable of argument. And they ducked and they ran, and I never heard from them. And I know a lot of people were tagging Occupy Democrats with those "why haven't you responded to Christopher Sky-Sunderer's challenge?" and those people would get blocked, just like I got blocked. The answer to this is to stop running from debate. All right, you're not going to get your way like this. If you want society to understand you, stop throwing punches, stop swinging bike locks, stop throwing milkshakes and quick dry cement, and maybe start developing some goddamn arguments. You don't deserve to win this way, and no one's going to let you. You think everyone's just going to go easy on you because, hey, I'm just a college kid, maybe I don't know any better. And the fact that you idiots, and I'm talking particularly now to those pouring water on man spreaders, the fact that you're pouring the stuff on their groin indicates to me that you know full fucking well why men have to sit with their knees apart. Well, my boyfriend doesn't sit like that. Why should you have to? Well, hey, congratulate your boyfriend from me on having tiny little convenient balls, okay? I don't. Most men don't. Please stop. Because you lefties, ever since 2016, you've been poking the bear and poking the bear and poking the bear, and I am telling you, most non-leftists are pretty tolerant people. We're really, really tolerant until we're not. You lose this thing in a damn hurry the moment this becomes an openly violent conflict. You people, playing Mortal Kombat does not prepare you for violence in the streets, nor does Call of Duty teach you how to shoot. Right now, you are taking advantage of the fact that we're not violent people, and we're really forgiving. You will push this too far if you continue. There is a point we won't go beyond. More to the point, there's a point we won't allow you to push us beyond. And the moment this becomes a violent conflict, your side is done. If for no other reason than we believe in guns and know how to use them, and you don't. So this is a sincere plea. I am willing to hear you out on any position, on any argument. I'll even host you here. You can come on my show. And you can rant and rail at me as long as you want. I will not edit you. I won't cut anything out. I will let you have your full say. You know, come at me. Call me names, whatever you want to do. If it keeps you from doing something stupid that's going to get your ass shot, please hit me up on Facebook, send me a private message, send me a message on Twitter, tell me you want to be on the show, and we'll set it up. Stop being violent. Stop attacking people for existing in a way that you don't like. And that's all I'm going to say about this. Because I'm just, every day, when I go to check in on the news events of the day, I'm worried. Say, okay, somebody who took one too many blank studies classes in some liberal university got themselves shot today, and I worry about it every single day. Can we please turn down the heat on this? Your neighbors are not your enemies. Just because your neighbor wears a MAGA hat doesn't mean he hates you, doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It sure as hell doesn't mean he's not going to listen if you want to talk. If you just say, hey man, I think you might be wrong about some things. Would you mind if I told you why? I promise you most people are going to listen. Most of the people that you're running up to and throwing milkshakes at and whatever else would have listened to you if you had just approached them and asked. All these guys sitting there with their legs apart on the bench in the whatever that is, a subway, a bus. If you had said, hey, you mind, could you shove over a little bit so I could sit? I promise most of those guys are going to do it. There's no reason for you to be doing this. Okay, so please use your words. I'm begging you. It's very simple, okay? There's only so far you can push people. And I understand. I know you're angry. Okay, I just think maybe it would behoove you to take a minute to think before you run with your feelings. I'm not saying logic is more important than emotion. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that logic should come before emotion, just in the order of operations when you respond to something. I'm not placing logic above emotion. I'm just putting it before emotion in the temporal order of events. How do you know? All right, you need to take a minute to think and make sure you fully understand logically what a situation is and what's really going on. And from there, listen to your emotions guide you on how you feel about it. All right, but this knee-jerk initial response, this is how I felt when I first heard about it, and I ran with that emotion and have never looked back, that's madness. That is insanity. And at the risk of being insulting, that's what children do. That's what toddlers do, okay? It's what babies do. We are all on this earth, occupying the same space together. You really don't want to see where this goes next if you keep pushing, okay? I'm begging you. This is not a threat. It's simply a warning from someone who considers you all my brothers and sisters. I don't want anyone to get hurt. And there's no reason for anyone to get hurt. There's no reason we can't sit and talk these things out. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. You're not enemies. You just have different ideas. All right, so that's all I've got today. Check back in. There will be an episode this Thursday, and we're going to see what comes out from Project Veritas between now and then. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.